Hello and welcome, it's Deborah from the attic, and today I have my planner for February 2022. So if you're new here, you're very welcome. Please have a look around at some of the other videos that I have on my channel. There's over 400 for you to choose from. And of course, if you're a returning friend, welcome back again. Let me ask you first of all to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Please hit the notification bell. And I've seen some comments from various people about saying, oh, it's nice to see you back, haven't seen you for a little while. I've been here every Friday evening, so if you haven't been getting those notifications, maybe it's because YouTube has unsubscribed you. So if you wouldn't mind checking and making sure that you've got your notification ticked, that would be fantastic, and I know then that you will get to participate in whatever is happening on Friday evenings. You also may want to follow me on Instagram. I'll provide a link to all my social media below the video. Just click on the description box for read more, and there you'll find all the links, because I've been doing a few more sneak peeks of things that I've been doing on a day-to-day basis rather than wait for a sort of a roundup at the end of the week. So if you want a little quick preview and maybe see some things that I might not show on my YouTube channel, Instagram is the place to go. Now, before we jump into February, I want to do a quick recap on how my January spread worked out. January started like this, with an image to reflect the festive season. I cut this out. It's called a Dutch barn door effect, I think. And then I did some more drawing on the inside. I've got my January calendar. I had some goals that I'd set myself for the month. Most of those have been ticked off, thankfully, and then I have my January spread here. Now, you'll see that I'm only halfway through January. That's because in order to get ahead of things and to get ready for February, I have to kind of work a little bit ahead. So I haven't actually finished January yet, but it's been a really good way to log events, log birthdays, anything I'm feeling about the day. And then, of course, on this side, I have my planning side as well, where I want to capture any ideas or makes for videos or anything like that. And I completed my little illustration with some holly and berries down the side as well. So for the drawing, so the whole point of this is that it's a journal and an art journal as well. I love this paper. I love drawing and inking onto this paper. It's so smooth, and pens and pencils just glide across it like silk. It's beautiful to draw in. So although this is a journaling book, I do use it a lot for drawing. That's the whole point of it for me. So this is what I did. And so these were actually done, again, you'll see I'm sort of working across a couple of months here. So these were done in December, and these are a couple of poinsettia that just fixed the season for me. And I tried these in a couple of different colours. My plan was that I was going to use this book, which is an Archer and Olive notebook, for some watercolour work as well. But when I came to do my little bear here, I found that I just started this bit using some watercolour, and I found that the page was beginning to buckle on the underside. I don't want that at all in my journal. I've seen a lot of other people saying that they can use watercolour in these books and it's not an issue for them. I didn't find that. And because I want my pages not to be buckled, I want them to lie nice and flat, I've decided I'm not going to use watercolour in my journal. I'm going to use my colour pencils. So I use Faber-Castell pencils, and this is how all of these have been coloured, including the poinsettia. So my little bear actually grew out of a drawing I did of my dog Buster, and I thought, if I changed his ears, could I make him a bear? And if I make him a bear, could I make him hibernating? So that's where this little image grew from. And then some little imagined snowflakes to add a little bit of festive sparkle to the season. And I gave him a little blanket to keep him warm. So this was a really fun little illustration to do. But I did have several attempts at the bear on some rough scraps of paper. I found every day I was practicing the bear. And practice drawing is what I'm going to talk about as well. So let me just flip over to the next image that I have for you, which is of an aster. The aster was really satisfying to do. I came to this just before the new year. It was lovely to do it. I blocked it out before I took pen to paper. So I drew circles for where I wanted the large flower heads to go. I planned it all out, planned where my leaves would go, drew it all in pencil first and then inked it. And I was really pleased with the result. And then I got a bit cocky. And this is why this page is covered up, because check out this cockiness. Then I drew this. Now, I'm really not happy with this drawing. This is a couple of Gladioli stems. I'm actually quite pleased with the Gladioli stems, But everything else about this I thought just didn't work. It lacked the realism of this image here. And part of adventures in drawing for me is working out if I've gone wrong, why have I gone wrong, what's failed. So I made some notes here. So these were my learning points, because to be absolutely honest, I wanted to close this page, open the next page and forget this had even happened. I just thought it was so lacking and such a contrast to this drawing here. And I thought, I've lost my mojo, what can I do? All I can do is learn from it. My problem with this image, and I made these notes here, is that it's cartoonish. I don't think it looks as real as this one does. And this is kind of what I'm aiming for. I'm not aiming for fine art reality, but I want something that is a little more proficient, I suppose. The other thing with this, and I'm being hypercritical, is that it's static. It lacks movement. This has got movement. The heads are going in different directions. There's a sense of movement and momentum to this one. You can imagine it blowing in the breeze. These look like a very fixed, very static arrangement. The next problem was that this was symmetrical. The way I did the large leaves framing the gladioli are too symmetrical. I should have done them maybe one out at the side like this and one just behind the gathering of the flower heads, but I didn't, so that's another error. So the layout I thought was quite poor. The flowers that are in the centre here, so when I realised that this was too symmetrical, I thought, okay, I'll fill it in with some little star-shaped flowers. I hadn't practiced these. This is another reason why the whole thing looks so static, is because all of these little star flowers are facing you straight on. There are none over to the side, such as with this. This flower points over to the side. This flower points to a side. This is looking straight up. I didn't do that with any of my star flowers because I hadn't practiced them. I was trying to solve a problem, and I actually just made it worse because I also overfilled the spaces. That was my next error. I should have left more white space in between the two tall gladioli stems. And there are no contrasts. In this one, there are loads of contrast between the centre of the flower and then the petals as they radiate out. And here in the bud is shaded quite darkly in here. But here, there's less opportunity for the sort of shading that makes this picture more successful. So this was quite the disappointment, but as I said, I've taken it as a learning exercise, and I was worried that I'd lost my mojo, I just lost the ability to draw. So the next day I thought, no, I've got to learn from these things. So my next drawing has to make sure it doesn't fall foul of any of these failures, as I perceive them to be, or maybe failures is too strong, criticisms. So I wanted to make sure I avoided these errors. Then I drew this. I'm just going to pop a piece of paper in because I have another different thing I want to show you as well. So then this was my reaction to these points. As you can see, this has got movement, and I spent a long time blocking this out. I say long time, however long it takes you to say I'll have a big flower there looking up, I'll have another flower here looking that way, and then I have another flower here looking this way. So when I say blocking out, I mean with a pencil. So I will just very roughly mark in where I want the images to sit, and I'll do some little triangles for where I want the leaves to go. And then if I want something fuzzy and bushy around the outside, I'll just roughly sketch that in using a pencil. So this is not cartoonish, and nor is it static, and you can tell that because there's movement in the heads of the flowers. They're looking in different directions. They're not looking straight at you. And the other way that you can see that it's got movement is through the branches. So these little, very rough little ferns here all come out in a different angle. So it's not a static thing, and nor is it symmetrical. The layout works much better because I've thought about it and I've practiced it. And I also practice my little ferns. So even though these are little scribbly ferns and they're very, very simple, I practice them first, and I practice the angles. So whenever you see somebody open a notebook, maybe I should just apply this to me. Whenever you see me open my notebook, please don't assume I've gone in and I've just been able to draw this straight away. It takes a little bit of thought, it takes some planning, and it takes consideration of these topics here. The overfilled spaces, I didn't overfill my spaces. I had to resist adding lots of these little rough branches here. So these are my little default leaves and branches. They're always little diamond shapes. They're very simple and quick to do. I love doing them, and that's why I must resist doing them. So I've only got a few of these, and I've got lots of space here, and it's this space that helps add to the sense of openness and spontaneity, and lacking that static symmetrical drawing that we saw on the other page. And whereas previously I had no contrast in my other image, my other drawing, this has got loads of contrast in it. There's contrast in the centre of the petal to really highlight the centre, and there's loads of little dot highlighting and shadow work here. And these branches are deliberately chosen to be this sort of messy fern in order to allow me to create greater contrast between all of the petals and all of the leaves. So this drawing, for that reason, I find far more successful. So if you do something that you think, oh meh, make a note of what it is that hasn't worked, and then make sure you correct it. And so from a bad drawing, I hope I've made a better drawing. So the next thing that I was going to show you, I'm going to keep a note of these little learning points, because I think it was so useful for me to do. So useful. So the next thing that I wanted to show you that I've done slightly differently in my journal is I've added a gallery. Now my gallery is going to be photographs. So I have one of these little tiny sprocket printers, and it prints out these little, I think they're sort of 2 by 3.5, something like that, 2 by 3 images, and I love them. And I thought it might be nice, instead of just going on the drawings and written events that happened, it might be nice to just capture some of what happened. So because I was a bit worried that the ink from the printed photos might come off or mark up or impact this drawing, and because I was worried that maybe this drawing, I don't know, maybe the ink might react with the ink on the colour picture, I decided that I would protect both by adding in a layer of transfer paper. So this is really thin, really thin transfer paper, and I just use it as a separation between the ink and the ink on my photographs. And then I thought, oh well, let's write that it's a gallery, so I've done that. And then I thought, let's add a little bit of colour, and these have been coloured in using some Tombow markers, which wonderfully don't smudge. So I was really pleased to discover that they will work so nicely on this sort of transfer paper. On to my February layout. Now February is my birth month. I am at the end of the month, so I'm Pisces, and I wanted my images and my drawings for February to reflect that. So I started with 2 tiny little fish. Now these fish I learned how to draw by watching a video by Johanna Basford. She's a great illustrator. She's done loads of books for colouring in, but also showing you how you can do your own little bits of artwork. But she does specifically show how to do little fish and also angelfish, and I thought brilliant. So I've expanded my drawing. So I started with the 2 tiny little fish, and then I found out how I could maybe draw a seahorse and maybe a shark. It's a bit of a wonky shark, but it's a shark, and a jellyfish, and then foliage all around it, and a little bit of coral and some tiny fish here and some bubbles coming up. So that was my front page layout for February. And on the other side, I made a note of the colour pencils that I had used. So I used cobalt turquoise, light cobalt turquoise, phthalo green, dark flesh and light flesh, and these are all Faber-Castell Polychromos colours. I wanted to try and keep the same palette throughout February, because I thought that would be a good way to explore how those colours work together. And by limiting myself to 5, you don't get overwhelmed then with the amount of colour that you may or may not want to put into your journal. So I've got my month all laid out, I've got my video plan for the month as well. I'm happy to say that I can tick the box on regular drawing and painting, because I'm managing to do that most days. And this is a slightly different images, so I used the same elements as I used on this page. I just mix them up a little bit. Essentially this is doodling, and I will show you in a future video, I've got it planned out, I'm going to show you how you draw these things from simple shapes to finished item. Because I did have a comment in one of the previous videos about drawing where somebody said, oh, I'd really like to be able to draw freehand. And I thought, that's a good challenge. Maybe I can show you how to do this. So that video is coming out. So if you want to know how you can draw a sea scene, please have a look out for that video coming up. There are many, many other people out there who do fantastic videos teaching you how to draw step by step. Johanna Basford, who I've already mentioned, is one. I'll provide a link to her below this video. Shayda Campbell, I've already referenced when I talked about doing my reference drawings in the back of my book, when I was first planning how I wanted to work with drawings through this year's book. So I'm no expert in this field, but I can show you what I do, and if it works for you, brilliant. So to complete my look at February, I've followed the same layout that I had for January. I've used very simple lettering. I mentioned before that I was trying to do calligraphic lettering in these to make them all look lovely and gorgeous, and I got so distracted with that that it didn't really work as I wanted to. I've gone back to simple lettering. And to fill in my February diary, I've taken the information that I spent time preparing at the beginning of the year with my sort of half-year layout. So I've taken birthdays and anything like that and added it in here. I've got my my little boxes here for my design ideas, video ideas, making ideas, and then I've done a little side border here with some shells, and I've kept the same palette when I've coloured them in. So that's how February looks, and of course that's where it stops as far as the pre-planning goes, and I leave myself lots of lovely blank pages for drawing in. Now the other thing that I've done for my diary is I've added a couple of bookmarks. And the reason that I've done those is because although this very, very lovely Archer and Olive book comes with two bookmarks, we've got them down here, they're little threads. One has got some a logo on and one is just plain, and they're great for taking me where I want to go at the beginning of my book. But if I want to get to February a little bit more quickly, I thought I'm going to make myself a bookmark. I'm going to make it using the sorts of images that I've already drawn, so I'm going to keep that theme. What I didn't do was check my colour palette, as you can see, slightly different. I thought I'd stuck to my colour palette, but no. So, oops. But these will help me get to my February pages more quickly. So I will use these, and these are going to be the basis for when we talk in the future video about drawing and painting these sea scenes. I'm going to show you how to make these. I'm also going to show you how to make these rather sweet, I hope you can see those, sweet little seashell charms, little scallop charms. For now, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. As always, thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed and that you are notified when new videos arrive. Please check out the links below the video if you want to follow me on social media, particularly Instagram, where I'm posting more frequently. And until we meet again, stay safe and take care.